Hey gang, how's it going? It's Patrick again. Sorry it's been so long. We've it's been eventful on this end. Uh, Most of it, you know, all right. Some of it not. I'm sitting on my porch again, so if you see streaks of fur go by, it's the dogs. They are currently scuffling over something. God only knows what. Um, but I'm out here on the porch enjoying the last little bits of a nice quiet Sunday afternoon. Sun's going down, and I'm here to answer another question that I got. Since I do writing in both the universe of Shadowrun and the universe of Star Trek, I was asked if I could discuss some of my work in Shadowrun, and I guess I should probably do that. Since most of what I do these days is Star Trek Adventures, and the Shadowrun stuff is pretty rare, I'm probably not known for that as much anymore. The question came from my friend Gertie over on Facebook. She's, excuse me, would you two knock it off? I'm not sure the dog realizes it with her dark black coat. Going across our dried out early November lawn, she does not blend. Anyway, Gertie Grossberg, she is one of my fellow administrators on the Star Trek Adventures group over on Facebook. And she asked me for kind of a retrospective on my work with Shadowrun. Before I go into that, though, I would like to thank Ann Fay on one of the Shadowrun groups, Shadowrun Direct Posting, who, when I popped this in there a few weeks ago asking for questions, didn't have one, but she wanted to let me know that I have, off topic, but Star Trek Adventures is freaking awesome, so go you. So, thanks, Ann. We like it. We're real proud of it. But getting back to Gertie's question. So I played Shadowrun since it first came out in 1989. I was stationed in Nebraska with the Air Force at Offutt Air Force Base. And I walked into Ground Zero Games and Comics, and there on the shelf was the first edition hardcover with that iconic Larry Elmore cover. And I just kind of fell in love with the world. Bought it, kept up with it. Didn't get to play it much for a lot of years because, most of the gang at Offutt Air Force Base didn't want to do it. They wanted to play, they either wanted to play, ironically, Fastest Star Trek, which, I was perfectly happy running at the time, or Top Secret SI, playing some spy games. But I did eventually start playing it in the late 1990s, 97, 98, thereabout. Third edition for the game came out, and I just happened to pick it up, and the local games store, it wasn't just the store, I can't remember who held it. There was a game night, essentially an event where several different stores were involved with things. It's been 25 years, so my memory's a little hazy. I've slept since then. But we started playing 3rd edition, and we really liked it. We had a group going fairly regularly, and I started emailing Mike Mulvihill at FASA, who at the time owned the game, who at the time still existed. Now I began writing him a bunch of things, asking questions, talking about concepts for things, and then one day in my email was a manuscript. And it was for the supplement Man and Machine, and he was asking me and my group to help playtest it. So we did. Sent a lot of notes, and we did the same thing for Canon Companion and several of the other books. And then one day, as they were preparing one of the location books, Target Matrix, I'd been sending in pieces for possible inclusion, and Mike bought a couple of them. Hello, hi. Yeah, I'm talking to people right now. Go on, girl. Good girl. Ginger says hello. But Mike bought some of my stuff for Target Matrix, and that was my first professional sales as a writer ever. And all the stuff I've written and submitted, those were my first professional sales. And in Target Matrix, I did a data haven called As You Watch. I brought up some of the concepts that I would throw around every now and then, and other stuff that I did, like the Sons of the Alamo and things like that. And I did the Matrix host for Lone Star. I think I did a couple other little things here and there, but those are the two things I remember. Like I said, that was published in 1999. It's 24 years ago now. I've slept since then, and from there it was off to the races. I was never the most prolific writer, but I had ideas for things that happened. And at the time, I was trying to be mostly the Texas guy, because the main setting, of course, for Shadowrun was Seattle at the time. It's expanded quite a bit. This central focus is still Seattle. But I would send in things for Texas stuff, things in the Confederate American states. And occasionally I'd get stuff bought. And I kept doing that throughout 3rd edition. Little things. I had some stuff in some of the last, until FASA closed down. And one day, Mort Wiseman, the head honcho at FASA, said, we're closing down. So the rights got passed around a lot. But I followed 3rd edition over into to FanPro. Did a few things there. I think the last thing I did some stuff for Year of the Comet. And then there was a long dry spell, because they did the play tests for 4th edition. I didn't really like how that went. And I was not necessarily a big fan of 4th edition. But I kind of kept my foot in the door a little bit. I talked with everybody still. And somewhere along the line, it was a few years later, they were putting together whatever the 4th edition. They're doing something for 4th edition with the infected, vampires and ghouls and things like that. And Shadowrun are the product of a virus, and they're collectively referred to as the infected. And I had been throwing some ideas out about some things that we could do with that, and they went for it. And at that point, from 4th edition until the end of my my run with Shadowrun, I became the Vampire King. And I still don't know exactly how that happened. But I kind of became the go-to guy for the infected because nobody else was really touching that aspect of the world, so I kind of had a little room to maneuver. And then FanPro went away, and the license went to Catalyst Game Labs. And so I worked for, again, mostly the infected stuff in 4th edition, right up until we got ready to go into 5th edition, and oh, my mind just went blank. But we had a big world-ending book. I wrote up Martin DeVries in Street Legends, and I did a couple of other things, and then that last event book, and heaven help me, I can't remember the name of it. It's embarrassing. I will put it in the description later, but puppy, Ginger, hop down. Really, girl? I'm busy. I'm talking to people. But that was where I got to out Martin DeVries as a vampire. He had been successfully, hiding it away as having undergone, leonization treatments and plastic surgery and whatnot for decades in a fit of vanity, and I outed him as a vampire in that one. Then we went into 5th edition, and I got to create all sorts of infected stuff, sneak a few things, Texas in there, and then things like Running Wild, Run Faster, the player's companion for 5th edition. I got to write a big chunk of the core rule book, and I did the critters section, helps and hindrances, in 5th edition. It did not come out as good as I wanted it to, but I was proud of how it came out. And all along this time, I even though I tried to put a little bit of light into the world, most of the fandom wanted it to get darker, and it just got too dark for me. The main reason I stopped doing things in Shadowrun was because the world just got too dark, and it was starting to affect my mental health. So I finally got to do some what we called hooding, as in Robin Hood. Shadowrunners trying to make the world better. I got to do some work in that area of the universe. I helped put together Shadowrun Anarchy, which is kind of well, compared to Shadowrun, it was rules light. It was still kind of rules medium, but it was a more narrativist, not as narrativist as Star Trek Adventures, but it was a more narrativist, collaborative kind of game. And I'm really, really proud of that. I got to create some of the rules. I helped create a lot of the characters, wrote some of the adventure, the mission briefs in that book. and introduced a couple of much more brightly aspected characters. Thunder is not a dark and brooding Ginger. Girl. Come on, girl. The hazards of recording videos on your porch, guys. Thunder was not a brooding sort of... She was a superhero, essentially. Street vigilante, magical. I got to introduce her because I got to start writing just straight fiction. I got to write a story in World of Shadows, which, the big thing there was, find an area of the world and write a story in that area. So she is from the South Houston area, which is where I'd lived for several years. And had a great fun writing that story. I got to write a story when Jordan Wiseman at Harebrained Schemes got the video game rights for Shadowrun, came up with Shadowrun Returns. I got to write a story in that. I was invited to write a story in that anthology, which I thought was just hella fun. I mean, I got to stand, to share page space with some of the giants whose shoulders I'd been standing upon for so many years. But, with the fiction I did, I also did 2 little short story, very short novella length pieces. The first one was called Another Rainy Night. The next one was called Sail Away, Sweet Sister, which are kind of a couple of connected pieces. There's a third piece in that one called Red Rain, which I'm working on right now. It's kind of a tough slog. It's not going to be enhanced fiction. There's not going to be character stats in that one. It's just going to be a straight novella. But at the time, like I say, things were just getting too dark for me. So when we did, one of the last books we did for 5th edition was called Better Than Bad, which is basically the hooding source book. How to, instead of being cold-blooded professional, criminals for hire, you're trying to, you're still criminals for hire, but you have a higher calling. You're trying to make things better for the world. And I wrote the opening fiction for that, which is a little piece called Friends Will Be Friends. And then I kind of hung it up. I had started working on Star Trek Adventures, and that was much better for me. But now that I've had a chance, some time away from it, and I don't have, it's not really the only work I'm doing, because for a while I couldn't get work anywhere else but in Shadowrun, because I never had the time or the wherewithal to get into a whole lot of games. It's an expensive hobby at times, but excuse me. I stand by all the work I did in Shadowrun. I don't do a whole lot with the Shadowrun community these days. I let them know that I'm alive. I let them know that I'm working on projects. If you can't beat them, join them. Hey, no, stop it. Stop that. Get down. Okay. But now that they've got the Hollow Streets program, I'm able to start taking some of my old ideas that never got published for one reason or another, and get them out in the world. I've only done a couple of pieces so far. But, I've been rambling for 20 minutes now, and Gertie, I hope that addresses your question a little bit. If not, let me know in the comments, and I will do an addendum to this as I need to. But I'm going to sign off because I have a very large dog trying to climb into my lap, and while she thinks she's a lap dog, she is not. Guys, have a good night. Live long and prosper. And I will catch you on the next one. I do intend to get some actual, real gaming content out. I've just been taking some time off to get over the blahs and to rest the knee that I wrenched the other day. Good night. And I will talk to you again soon. Excuse me. Okay, take care. Catch you later.